All right, so actually made really good progress today. I'm excited about this. I decided to go back and refactor the user interface files. The way the microcontroller code is broken out, originally, of course, it was one big INO file, and then flies that are here just drove me nuts. So originally it was one big INO file, which I quickly realized was going to be a pain to manage and maintain. And so I refactored that. This was a couple weeks ago, which was probably only like 4 weeks ago, which is crazy to think about. It feels like it's been forever how much has happened. Refactored that into serial communications, into the LVGL code, basically the user interface, and then there were a couple other things that it broke into. And so that was been working great, but the user interface is becoming pretty large. So I have 3 pages right now. The second 2 pages are just kind of dummy pages. But primarily the first page is where you have your main menu system. There's 5 tabs on the first page, and it's just becoming so bloated that the AI is having difficulty editing it, and it keeps deleting hundreds of lines of code. It'll go in to edit something in the tool stack, and just for some reason, there's like 700 lines of code within the settings section that it decides that it wants to get rid of. And even if I go back and tell it, yo, I had to go back and undo this, don't delete any of this, it'll be like, oh, sure, of course, I shouldn't delete that. Silly me. And it'll go and do it again. And it'll just keep deleting it. It does not matter which models I'm using. It's got to be a Copilot issue. It will just go and consistently, the settings sections, it hates the settings. It hates the settings sections. So anyways, I just got so fed up with it because I'm probably have spent hours just deleting updates so that because it's deleting this code and then going back and having to fight with it. So I was like, I'm going to refactor this file if I can. I tried it yesterday. I tried using Jules, which is AI's new GitHub integration tool, and that did not work. I gave that a couple of hours, did not work. I also tried it with Claude and just let Claude go in agent mode to see if it would be able to refactor it, and it wasn't able to do it either. It ended up going down like some rabbit hole where it was creating files for our microcontroller libraries that it had absolutely no business making. So I just scrapped all of that, lost what felt like a couple hours of my day yesterday. But today, Google released a new version of Gemini 2.5 Pro. And so I was like, you know what? We'll throw it into there, see if Gemini, the new version, can come up with a plan that Claude can then follow and implement. And it worked. Gemini came up with a really detailed plan. I gave it almost all of the source code and definitely the context, describe what I was trying to do in detail, and came up with a really great plan. So all of the settings is now refactored. Each tab has its own section. Each page has its own section. There's containers. It's structured really well from what I can tell. And I had to fight with it a little bit towards the end. There were some things that didn't quite get implemented perfectly. And by perfectly, it was just like some syntax errors, and the compiler won't compile, and here's the error messages, and we fix this. And I had to use both Gemini and Claude for that because Claude kind of got lost after a while. It didn't really seem to know how to solve the issues. And so I threw it all into Gemini, the new version, and Gemini's like, oh, here's the problems. Threw that back into Claude. Claude was like, cool, this is it, let's do it. And shortly after that, it was working, and I've gone through and tested everything, and all the features are working. The drive updates are still working. The write protection not analysis, but it'll go and check to verification. The write protection verification is working for the source drives, and then on the user interface, everything's still here. You can come in, select the tools. It queues those up. Whoop, I'll get a couple of them selected. There we go. And so you'll see it queues them up in the list here, and then you hit commit, and it sends them, and it populates the database on the system, which is working. That was another thing that I fought with yesterday, was trying to get that working to where it would actually send it and populate the database. And honestly, I'd given up last night. It was probably 9 o'clock, 9:30, and I'm like, I don't think this is going to work. But last night I was like, I just need a mental break. I'd given up. I thought I'd got nothing done all day. Sure, I was testing Jules, and I took a shot at refactoring, and none of that worked. And then getting the commit to actually send the tool information to the database didn't end up working, and it's just like, I just literally scrapped the whole thing. And for whatever reason, Claude was in a good mood last night, starting around 9:30, and I gave it one last shot, and it just went. I could tell it was on the right track. It was doing the right things. It was probably 12:30 last night. I was assuming that probably wasn't going to work either, and it worked. I couldn't believe it. It was sending it to the database. I could see it. It just blew my mind. I was like 12:30, and I was just like, I went from just exhausted and low to just elated. That's how it seems to go with using AI to do this. You'll fight with it all day and you'll be like, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know how this is going to work. It doesn't feel like it's going to work. And then all of a sudden it just works. And then you're happy again. And then you're all excited. So I'm super stoked about that. And then once you hit start, it will start processing the tools that you've got in the queue. So the next step is to get it to reflect the live state of the database and have the commit button turn to a go. Once it's reflecting the live state, then the next phase, well, there's really two, would be I need to get it so that you can actually go and configure the settings for the tools, which probably means I need to actually get the actual tools implemented. So there's three things. Do I go in and have it so that once you hit go, it then sends the signal to start processing, which wouldn't make sense if I don't have actual tools in there to test, because I need to be able to configure the tools. So I need to set that up to where you like long press on the tool and it pops up with a configuration menu and you select everything. But if I'm going to do that, then I need to actually have the right tools populated in the database. So I need to figure out what tools I want to run and what the settings are going to look like. So that will probably take some configuration. So it sounds like there's still 3 or 4 layers of hurdles that I have to jump over to actually get to where it's running a tool against a drive, which is fine. I wish I was there already, but it's fine. It's getting all of the stuff set up in the back end, getting the foundation right is critical. So I'm trying to take my time and do that and not take any shortcuts. I could have gotten it a long time ago to where you would select a tool and it would just send the command to the host and it would then start running that. But it would have lacked a lot of probably some configuration, certainly would have lacked user controls. It certainly would have lacked export controls or regional controls. It would have lacked licensing. It would have lacked the sales packages. It's much better that I go through and actually take the time to figure this out. And the user interface wouldn't have been nearly as good. I'm really happy with how this functions and flows and looks, and I'm ecstatic about it. I'm in shock. It would have taken me a year to do this, maybe longer. There's things that this has implemented that I've wanted to do over the last 5 years that I wasn't able to do, that this has already got built into it. It's just amazing. What a timeline we're living in. Anyways, that's where we're at today. And I've got Claude working on getting the go button and the reflection of the database to come back to the screen, and we'll go from there. Oh, I've also been working on getting the CAD files updated. So I'm putting together a detailed slide deck with like, screw hole goes here. This is exactly what I want. Here's the overview, all the components. Here's the designs, the styling that I like. I have some graphical renders that I had Google's image generator come up with for styles that I like. So I put those in there so that the person that goes and actually builds the models has some reference and context to where my head's at with the styling and what I'm going for. And then links to CAD models so that they don't have to start from scratch. They actually have a platform to start building from, and links to measurement documents and all kinds of stuff. So it's going to be very detailed because I need to make it as easy for them as I can. Prompting AI, you just have to give it context, and as quality context and as easy to consume context as possible, you'll get better results. So been working on that as well. Hopefully that will be done here, not today, but maybe tomorrow. And then I guess it's possible that by the end of next week, I could actually have 3D models, which would be cool. We'll see. I'm going to try finding somebody on Fiverr. I saw there's a couple people that seems like they do good work and the prices are incredibly reasonable. So we'll see how that goes and what country they're in. Not that the CAD files, I really don't care if it's done by somebody out in Pakistan or India or wherever Fiverr is pulling its labor from. So anyways, that's also going on. But I'm going to get to this, make sure this is getting implemented correctly, and go from there. If there's any suggestions on features, capabilities, tools, things that you'd like, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments, and I'll see if I can get those added or answered. Thanks.